Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. I'm here to talk about the effect of domestication on dogs, and this will be like a mini series. So at some point during the year, I will get to cats and horses, but I thought I'd start with dogs because most people, this is the most dramatic to some people because of all the crazy things that living with us has done to them. I thought I'd share some of them. So the first and most obvious is that the rate of obesity is a lot higher than it used to be. And part of it is because a lot of us have sedentary lifestyles, meaning we're not up and we're not moving around. And this is an article I found in a magazine, and it says, your pooch is becoming a pizza addict. And it talks about all the different things that happen to them when they live with us. The first and most obvious one is that they're eating foods that humans should eat in moderation, so pizza, ice cream, things like that. And they can actually develop an addiction to these things because for example, in my house, we used to have pizza every Friday night. And we would either have a freezer one or we would make it on a flatbread. And Kaya would drool as soon as we started making it, because someone in my family would always give her a pizza crust. And since I switched to being vegan, I only make flatbread ones because the freezer vegan ones are way too expensive. But she doesn't drool as much when I make them because it doesn't have all the juicy toppings on top that she likes. But she's waiting for that because she's so used to having it there. The second thing is that because we are more stressed out, they are more stressed out because they pick up on it, and that gives them things like anxiety, separation anxiety, nervousness, the pacing back and forth, stress-related injuries because they're constantly pacing or jumping up and down, and they bark a lot. They bark when people walk by, they bark when people show up, because they have so much nervous energy that they don't even know what to do with it. The third thing the article talks about is sedentary lifestyle, because if we lay around a lot and we watch Netflix and all of this stuff and we don't go out, we're training them that exercise is not totally necessary, which it definitely is, but in animals that their owners have sedentary lifestyles, they have a higher risk of all of the following things: weight gain and obesity, anxiety, hyperactivity, barking, destructive chewing, and digging. So I've actually worked with clients like this where they say, my 2-year-old German Shepherd mix, he's so hyper we can't control him. And I asked, how often a day does he get exercise? And she said, not at all. I said, well, there's your problem right there. You need to get him a harness if you're struggling to walk him, and you need to get him out, because guaranteed the problems will disappear as soon as you start giving him exercise, because high energy breeds need the exercise. If you can't give it to them, don't get that breed. Very simple. Because ultimately, there's a lot more serious things that we're doing to them. And at the end of the video, I'm going to suggest things to Google if you want to see the drastic comparison between before and after. But we're also feeding them worse diets. So in the wild, they typically don't eat every day. They eat smaller amounts of food, and it's spaced out, but it also has things like fur, hair, teeth, that kind of thing. And I actually read another article. I've been doing a lot of article reading, and it talks about the importance of manganese, which is a really common deficiency in dogs that get CCL tears. So that's the ligament in the side of the knee. And that's because modern diets are missing those important ingredients, and then all the dogs have manganese deficiencies. And CCL surgery is one of the most common surgeries that veterinarians do now because of all the dogs that are getting it. Because it's not just in older dogs or dogs that had a trauma, it's in young, healthy dogs. But because they're so active and they're missing this nutrient from their diet, you see 2 and 3-year-old dogs getting CCL tears, and it just breaks my heart. The quantity of sugar in animals' diets that we feed them has caused a spike in pet diabetes, which is also why human diabetes is so high, because most of the food that people eat is just chock full of sugar. I saw a funny post that said, the most important thing you can get at the grocery store is the stuff around the outside, which usually when you first walk in, there's fruits and vegetables on one side. If you go around to the back, usually it's dairy, meat, bread, that kind of stuff. All the stuff in the middle is usually full of sugar and carbohydrates. Some of it is necessary, like crackers if you're going to have hummus or something with it, but most of the stuff on the outside is what people go for. Nervous and anxiety. Oh, hello, Kaya. Nervousness and anxiety is a really big one because our lives are so stressful nowadays, especially with living costs and things like that, that we take on a lot of stress, and our animals definitely pick it up. Because if I have a really busy, stressful day, Kyle will come up to me and just say, where have you been all day, Mom? And I'll look at her and I'm like, oh, you're right, I need to take a break. So then we go out for a little WALK, and it helps me relax and de-stress, and then we get back to it. But they're very good at doing things like that, but if we train them that those things aren't necessary, then they won't constantly remind us that we need to do those things. Overbreeding. Oh my goodness. I can't explain how drastic it is. You need to Google before and after inbreeding, especially in brachycephalic breeds, so like pugs. German Shepherds is another big one you need to look at, because the pictures are just horrifying about what we've done to the breeds. But this, because they're only breeding purebreds, the number of health and genetic conditions is going up because they're constantly breeding the same pool of genes over and over and over again. Not to mention that because most of the dogs are not in packs, they're either solitary dogs in the household or there's 2 or more dogs. Because the animals don't live in packs, they're not learning the necessary social skills that they need. So a lot of dogs are presenting with more aggression and, again, anxiety and difficulty being in groups with other dogs. So even there's a certain street that I walk by, every house that has a dog, the dog starts screaming bloody murder as soon as we walk by, like just screaming their head off. And Kaya looks at me and I don't react to it, so she just keeps walking, but she's kind of like, where's that noise coming from? That's weird, and just keeps walking. But the fact that these dogs are either left at home all day or they don't get to interact with other dogs. Like there's a lot of dogs I know that have met other dogs, but it's a handful of times, and they're 6 or 7 years old. And they need that dog on dog time because canines are social creatures. They're used to being in packs. Yes, there will probably be some type of dominant, submissive behaviors, but they need to get that interaction because it's really important for their mental states. A lot of times they're showing that they maintain juvenile morphology, which means they look like puppies longer because we think it's cute, which means we'll keep them around longer. So dogs that present and look like big scary dogs, we're less likely to keep them in most cases because that's the way society has trained us. We've actually increased their reproductive efficiency because we feed them, we keep them alive, and that means they have more chances to reproduce, which is why there are thousands and thousands of homeless dogs, and puppy mills are exploding, and there's so many homeless animals because people either buy purebred ones or buy them from a pet store instead of rescuing them, and ultimately all of these animals need a home. So if you don't spay or neuter or sterilize your pet, then ultimately we have increased the probability that they're going to have more babies unless we spay, neuter, or sterilize. They have less fear of humans, and this isn't the case for animals that are raised in normal households. Most of the dogs are not afraid of people. Kaya will go up to just about any stranger and be happy to see them. But dogs that come from traumatic backgrounds, so things like puppy mills, dog fighting rings, they have a massive fear of humans. So it's not just, according to the research anyway, it says that they've decreased their fear of humans, but I think it goes both ways. We've just kind of polarized it, so it's either or, it's not in the middle, because it depends on where we get them from, but if the animal comes from a poor circumstance, they're much more likely to be afraid of humans, and this includes rescue dogs. But a lot of them just need a little bit of love and affection and time and patience. Patience is a big one before they behave like normal dogs, I would say. But get used to what it's like to be in a healthy relationship and what it's like when humans actually care for you. We actually invented floppy ears. It was not a thing in dogs, and you can look up before and after pictures, but most of the dogs had ears that were straight up because dogs served a function back then. They were farming dogs, they were to get rid of rodents, they were hunting dogs, and they all had ears that went up. According to research, the floppy ears, we think it's cute. So we've genetically bred dogs with floppy ears to have floppy ears. And that's not something evolutionary that they were like that before, because there's not really much function for them to be floppy other than to keep bugs out. But dogs with floppy ears have more ear infections, and they're much more prone to get fleas and ticks in their ear because it's warm and moist in there. So always check your dog's ears when you come back from the forest. Coat colors. Dogs used to come in a standard 1, maybe 2 colors, but now they come in so many different colors because people crossbreed to get a specific color. Kaya is an example of that because the red merle color did not used to exist. It used to just be the red tri, which is like a brown with some white on the face, or the black tri, which is black with white on the face. And now, Kaya, they look like that. She wandered in while I was doing this, and then my mom shut the door again, so she's like, wait, now I'm in here, what do I do? But I really think that if you're curious about what we've done as humans, that you should Google inbreeding before and after pictures, because it's pretty horrifying. And it doesn't sound like any of the things that we've done to them are positive. Yes, we have kept them alive, and we've given them happy lives in most cases, but we need to be doing better, because we're supposed to be the ultimate species because we have higher consciousness and empathy and all of these things, but we need to start putting it into action because these animals don't have anybody else. We are the only ones that can help them. So think about it next time when you're choosing between laying on the couch and eating pizza or taking your dog out for a walk and not giving them some pizza. Give them something healthy like blueberries. Kaya loves blueberries. But think about the decision when you go to give them something. Do I give them this carbohydrate and cheese-laden treat, or do I give them a little piece of apple or a little piece of pear? Just try and be more conscious with your decisions, because we don't want to be this species that has decreased the lifespan of dogs so much. They used to live almost twice as long as they do now. And with all the genetic issues and the obesity, anxiety, heart conditions, all of that, that we are ultimately the ones that have decreased their lifespan this far, and it just breaks my heart. I mean, I'm hoping Kyle will live to 15, but most Australian Shepherds don't live that long anymore, and it makes me really sad. But have a wonderful rest of your day. I will be back next week, I think. Yes, next week, but then the week after that I'm gone. So have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you next Tuesday.